Today we have our ribbon cutting ceremony for the renovation project that took place at Daniels Hill Center this past kind of end of summer and early fall here. People will see, once they walk through the door that the center has gotten a brand new facelift, so to speak. Fresh paint, new floors, new lighting systems, some features, wall accents, brand new kitchen still to come in there. We've got slightly updated bathrooms, but the idea is that we took an older 1970s building here and gave it some fresh updates to attract people and deliver what people wanted. Programs that we have here at this center include our standard programming that's kind of offered at all centers, which is our after-school programming, our senior programming, and then summer camps. Those are our standard programs that are kind of offered at all the centers. Unique to Daniels Hill, we have preschool playgroup that meets twice a week, focusing on essentially right around 12 months through just under 5 years old. That's a pretty unique program here, and with some of the new renovations here, we're looking at some possibilities to opening things up and offering some more programs. So we're excited.
Improved Daniels Hill Neighborhood Center. My name's Jennifer Jones, and I'm the Director of Lynchburg Parks and Recreation. Thank you all for coming to celebrate this center's renewal project, which is part of our Poverty to Progress initiative. This is one more step. We have several things that we're doing within our department that we report out on a quarterly basis. This is one of them. I'd like to recognize several dignitaries in our audience today. From City Council, Mayor Trinae Tweedy, Deputy City Manager Reed Woodica, and also we have a lot of city staff. If you'll raise your hand, city staff. And specifically, we want to point out Melva Walker, who was our CDBG coordinator. So thank you so much for everything that you've done, Melva. I also want to recognize our Parks and Recreation staff specifically. If you all will raise your hand, Parks and Recreation. A lot of people chipped in to get this done, and I really appreciate all of the support. Now I'd like to especially congratulate Charlotte Lester, the Neighborhood Center Coordinator, who found a way to make the much-needed improvements and repairs to Daniels Hill Neighborhood Center when the typical funding avenues dried up. Knowing that people feel valued or devalued by the funding that is prioritized to care for and provide quality of life improvements in their neighborhood, Charlotte developed and submitted an application through the Community Development Block Grant process to fund the needed repairs at the neighborhood centers. This was a testament to the old adage, where there's a will, there's a way. Also, Charlotte worked with our partners at Public Works, specifically Project Manager Randy Dalton. Thank you so much, Randy Dalton. And our Park and Rec Construction Coordinator, Charlie Yule. Shout out to Rory Lee Washington, the Senior Recreation Specialist at Daniels Hill, and his staff, Kadrayan Jackson and Mondese Dyke, for being flexible and coordinating alternative play camp at Armstrong Gym and an old school supervised playground program, which is an after-school program, while the center was closed for construction. And so to Charlotte specifically and Rory Lee Washington and the Daniels Hill staff, let's give them a huge round of applause. Great job. And now I'd like to introduce our Neighborhood Center Coordinator, Charlotte Lester.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. I appreciate the warm remarks. I just want to say that Daniels Hill is a neighborhood that has really strong connections. There's a strong connection between the neighborhood and the center. It's one of our oldest neighborhoods here in the city. It's rich in history. It's rich in views. You can see the James River. You can connect to the Blackwater Creek Trail system. You can connect to downtown from here. So it's also rich between neighbors. It's a beloved neighborhood where generations of people have made and built relationships and connections. And Parks and Recreation has a long-standing tradition of being present in this neighborhood, as Jenny mentioned, back to the days of the supervised playground, and then also in a bricks and mortar way with facilities, and including this one, which is from the 1970s. So it's had a lot of use and wear and tear over the years. So we are really pleased to be able to reinvest in this center and in this neighborhood. We realize that center life is an important part of neighborhood life, and so it's a great reason to celebrate this facility improvement project coming to a close. You'll see, especially if you've known this center before, the improvement project, that there are improvements to the functional use of the space, as well as to the finishes. We really meant to celebrate the simplicity of this building and to embrace the concrete floors, the cinder block walls, the views of the neighborhood, and to use natural materials to bring a warmth and honesty to the space because it's a valuable public space. I would like to recognize the folks that were involved in the vision of this project, finding a way, as Jenny mentioned, to make this possible when the funding is limited in our capital improvement project budget, which has so many demands. So we were able to, through the Community Development Block Grant federal program, invest in this center and in this neighborhood. So I would like to recognize Bonnie Sverchik, our city manager, Jenny Jones, the Parks and Recreation director, Andy Reeder, the Park Services manager, Melva Walker, the CDBG grants coordinator, and also the Community Development Advisory Committee who supported this project. I would like to recognize the project management team. So Randy Dalton from Public Works was the project manager, and Charlie Ewell from Parks and Recreation took care of a number of the details that make these sorts of projects possible, and is a construction coordinator with the department. And Howard Covey, the facilities supervisor, who was along the way entirely with the project. So I would also, of course, like to recognize the design and construction of this space. The design was created by Virginia A&E. Bill Allen and Wyatt Torrance are here and with us today. And so you can see the beautiful aesthetic that they've brought to this lovely space. And the work was completed by Coleman Adams, so thanks to Charlie Evans, who's the project manager, and the foreman, Harold Carter, who's with us today. So we just welcome you to this beautiful and exciting space. I would like to recognize, as Jenny did, the center staff, Rory Lee Washington, who's the senior rec specialist of the center. Kadrian Jackson is the rec specialist, and he will be joining us later. And Mondeze Dyke is the recreation aide. So those are the three staff members who will be taking over the space and working with the public to build on the great program that they already have in place. And finally, I would like to recognize City Council for their commitment to neighborhood development. And I think there's a recognition of the value of neighborhoods and the shared public spaces. So with that being said, I would like to introduce Mayor Trenae Tweedy, who will offer her remarks before we have the ribbon cutting. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. I am just thrilled to be here this morning. This is an exciting day. We've had 2 exciting days in the past week for our centers, and I'm so happy to be with you as we celebrate the opening of the Daniels Hill Neighborhood Center. Just last week, I had the pleasure of participating in the ribbon cutting for the reopening of the College Hill Center, which had also undergone renovations. I'm sure that just like the residents of College Hill, you are all happy to have the center back and functional. Neighborhood centers play an important role in our community. They serve as gathering places and safe havens for our children. They offer our seniors the opportunity to come together to socialize and recreate. They provide a common setting where memories are made and friendships are formed. I'm confident that there are many people who grew up in Daniels Hill neighborhood who still remember those lazy summer days spent playing ball, climbing the playground equipment, or participating in some other program. After decades of programming and hundreds of children and adults filling through the doors, it was time for a few basic improvements. This improvement project shows the city's commitment to its neighborhood improvements and reinvestment in our neighborhood centers. To some people in Lynchburg, the Daniels Hill neighborhood, as tucked away as it may appear, to be a modest one, but for many of us who know the history and the life experience of the residents, we understand that Daniels Hill is unique and rich in its own ways. From the views of the James River, as Charlotte mentioned, the closeness of generations of residents, neighborhood groups, and churches working together. To this center that sits in the heart of the neighborhood, Daniels Hill is a special place and a great place to live. And I'm going to go a little off script and say the renovation comes from folks' voices being heard. This center, as well as another center, we're kind of on a chopping block, budget-wise. But the center, the neighborhood, folks, I see our neighbors here, they spoke up. They talked about the need for the center. They talked about the memories that are made here. And City Council, as well as Parks and Rec, our Community Development Block Grant folks heard that. And so the reinvestment starts with the neighbors and with the folks who are the residents. My congratulations to everyone involved in this project. The staff is here committed to serving this community and meeting the needs of the neighborhood. We appreciate for our staff all that you do and all that you're going to do here. In closing, I offer my thanks to the residents for your patience throughout the renovations, and I encourage you to take an active role, all of our partners in this neighborhood and throughout the community, to help guide this center for many years to come. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to go outside to cut the ribbon. 1, 2, 3.
Squeezing through.